Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, Paul. How was your Sky weekend?
Yeah, it was okay, thanks, Fergi. Nothing massive to write home about, but I did make a rank rise. I used one transfer after Madison got suspended for that late booking for diving. So
Unbelievable! That
yeah,
that's just like that's comedy.
yeah. In other formats, it's forced me to do stuff that I wanted to do anyway, and I didn't want to do it for
Same,
like a
same.
so I wasn't too disheartened. Maybe in Sky, I would have rather have held on to him for a short for a short time. But I moved them on to a player that I was going to bring in the long term anyway. So I've saved myself a transfer further down the line.
Good work. Yeah, I'm to say we're actually on the exact same points, but somehow you're ranked higher than I am. The Sky Gods have just put you at three
Oh,
three four.
I always thought it was based on your last week's score as well, which would suggest that you should be higher than me. Alphabetical order, you come ahead
Alphabetical,
of me as
more
well.
transfers, everything which would normally dictate someone's higher, but no, it's just gone. No, no, we can't let Fergie go ahead of Paul. So yeah, we're on the same rank, but sorry, you're ranked one higher than me, but we are the same points. But yeah, I had a decent weekend. Allison for me was I was laughing. I was just laughing because I had a quick look yesterday. I think you were 11 points ahead of me or 12 before that match,
Yeah.
and you know, you could tell maybe after an hour, I think, maybe, well, after the Foden goal, I think you could probably tell that Man City weren't going to score. He just had it kind of written all over it. And even though Haaland, I think he had three or four shots on target in the end, but
Yeah.
they were all pretty much at Alisson. And Alisson's such a good keeper. And I don't think, I got to be fair to the Liverpool defence. What a change from what we've seen over the last few weeks. They were really, really solid, one. They, in all fairness, I know that City made a couple of chances, but yeah. Or Ryan Welsh has just said more goal scorers, Paul. You might have more goals scored in your team potentially for your
That's how it was.
for your your higher rank. But yeah, Allison, 15 points out of the blue as well, completely out of the blue. And I'm really hoping that this
And
little,
then
what's that? Sorry.
on a good and they've got good fixtures now as well, right? So
They
like
have.
they've got
It's one of the
yeah.
it's one of those things again where in previous years he would have been gone long ago, and now only now hopefully kind of reap his rewards of the next couple of games, and they got the extra games as well, right? Over Man City, over Arsenal and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, pretty happy, and I'm hoping now that this week, because I've only got, I think, got two Man City. I know that a few have got like more, like Akanji and Foden and Edison as well. So I'm hoping to make a couple of gains this week, and then jump on maybe Man City Arsenal
And you've
after
only
that.
got and only Saliba as well, right? You don't have any other Arsenal cover as well.
Exactly. So hopefully it's works all right. But I have got a couple of tricky decisions coming up, which I'm a bit stumped the first time this season. So I'm sure we'll chat about that in a bit. Welcome everyone who is in. Joseph Robinson and Mark Williamson. Sam D Taylor says, "I'm so glad I've kept hold of Salah. What a differential." Julian Wardle is in. Boris the Blade. Yeah. They didn't class Salah's shot, which
So
got tipped around the post, as a shot on target.
So do you know how Sky Bet do the Sky Boost? So I don't. I'm not a massive gambler, but I put on the Sky Bet Boost quite a lot. Yesterday, Sky Bet Boost was Haaland to have two shots on target and Salah to have one. And see, see when that one didn't count at that time, I was up in
Oh
arms.
my goodness!
But then he obviously got the goal later on, so that came in later on.
I had one yesterday as well. I had Jota one on target, Salah one on target, and 9 corners or something. I had a nice little one coming with my free £5 bet that I had.
Nice.
Boris the Blade, Ian Brown, Liam Rayner, Colin Johnston, and David Baxter. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. What we're going to talk about tonight, Paul?
Just going to go through the match cards for the weekend, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about when picking differentials or picking the edge case players that aren't necessarily nailed, and have a little bit of a chat about that.
You can tell you work in tech. Edge case, I like that. Yeah, let's have a look at the match cards then.
Cool. So first on Friday night, so you made a transfer here, Fergie, right? You brought in McAllister.
I did, and I don't think I've ever before scored a 9-pointer from someone who had no returns for a team who lost 2-0. Absolutely unbelievable.
It's I've made this reference a couple of times, but the best example I can think of isn't Idrissa Gueye because he still wouldn't have picked up shooting bonus. But Harry Arter's the best example I can pick up in his Bournemouth days because he occasionally picked up passing bonus, occasionally picked up shooting bonus, occasionally picked up tackle bonus. So yeah, great all-rounder. And considering in previous years, obviously when the man of the match would have been there, Ivan Toney would have got man of the match, right?
That's right.
So Toney scored 13 points from the game after picking up the late booking, and McAllister picks up 9 points. It's 4 points short. Okay, 4 doubled to 8, but considering you don't have the explosive player that's done incredibly well in the game, and you still come out with 8 points after doubling the captaincy from it, I think it was fantastic. A lot of people still have held on to Rea as well from Brentford.
A nice haul, wasn't it?
Yeah, good 12-pointer there. A few of the Brighton defenders both picked up passing, but when you're considering McAllister's 9 points to what Dunk's 4 points, bit of a difference there. Caicedo done okay for owners as well.
Did.
Double bonus on the passing and tackle bonus in tier 2, and both picked up the booking though, so 7 points. But at his price point, I imagine managers will continue to hold.
Agree. And
maybe a few disappointed kind of new Trossard owners and Gross and all. A couple of people were trying to play it a little bit different with differential, but
I was tempted by Trossard, but I texted you, didn't I? After it was Spurs and Brighton last week, and I was just watching McAllister in that quarterback role. I was just like, he's just going to mop up every point you can get from there, and that's why I went for him. I think with Trossard, he's like the aggressive, go for the brace or hat trick pick. McAllister is you're guaranteed some points regardless pick. So yeah.
And I think, I don't know what your opinion on McAllister is, even though Brighton's got really tough fixtures coming up after the Forest game, and there's a good hop-off opportunity. I had originally considered moving him on to Mitrovic, but I think I'm just going to hold through.
Get tackles and passes, now. I think, regardless, won't he? And he's got the penalty in his locker. Even if he gets one penalty in that time and gets consistent bonus points for 7.4 million, he's well worth it, isn't he?
It'll be interesting to see who, like, De Zerbi's come out and said Lallana's definitely playing tomorrow night. I'm not speculating that he would take McAllister's position. I don't know. He seems like one of those managers that's going to change things up formation-wise, perhaps, to get the best out of his players. They've only picked up 1 point since he arrived out of 3 games, so it'll be interesting to see who he does replace. If it was McAllister, again, I'm not speculating it was, then maybe that would be a consideration for me to use that point to move on to Mitrovic on Thursday night, but I'm not convinced that it will be him that drops out.
Okay, Leicester and Palace. I didn't watch it, thankfully, but absolute snowfest by all accounts, and that Maddison yellow has really put given some fancy managers some problems. Do you know? I took him out last week. I did. I think a lot of people moved off. I can't, if it was maybe Jesus, or maybe Cancelo, or maybe some such player to move on to Zaha last week. I saw that Maddison was on 4 yards. On 4 yards, I knew I'd want Cancelo back, so I took the risk that Maddison would get booked in the next 2. And so when he went over, book him, ref, book him, and he did. So it's worked out beautifully for me.
It couldn't have worked out more perfect for you, because I think that Maddison would have been he would have made me feel more comfortable about not getting Mitrovic in on Thursday night if I could captain Maddison against Leeds. Again, I'm still not absolutely certain I'll make that move. And as a parting gift, he did pick up tier 2 tackles, which was unsurprising. Which was surprising. So I got 4 points out of Maddison anyway. Usual suspects, Tielemans picking up passing bonus, as did the 2 centre halves. The 2 centre halves for Palace. Like we had said last week, that new acquirers of Crystal Palace defenders might have been a bit unhappy with the first performance on the Sunday, but that's them clean sheet and passing bonus for both picked up 9-point returns. So and Palace's fixtures are great. They're not playing any of the top teams, so you would think that they'll pick up passing bonus regardless if the clean sheets come in or not. So yeah, definitely nice options moving forward. I don't think I'd move on to them now, but good move for those that had moved on already.
Just on Palace, Zaha, probably fair to say he's been disappointing so far. I know we got the assist last week, but that kind of came out of nothing. And he was brought off early, which he's not normally brought off early, 77 minutes as well, because he was largely ineffective. So 8.5 million in this game when we've got so many cheap enablers is a lot of money, I think.
Yeah, he's I haven't seen many of them come to fruition this season, but that 2-2-2, 15-10, 2-2-2, like that's he's like the opposite of a flat track bully, though, right? Like he does. He gets this beautiful run of fixtures and does absolutely nothing. But when it comes to playing the top teams, he always seems to deliver.
It does.
Crazy. Yeah. So looking on at the 3:00 games, Fulham, Bournemouth, Mitrovic, 2 shots on target. I did think he looked a bit sluggish. He's always a threat based on his style and his physique. When he's in and around the box, so obviously got penalties as well. I did think he looked sluggish though, and that's another bit putting a bit of doubt in my mind about whether
he played 90, which I was quite surprised at though, because he was touch and go. I thought he'd have given him like 60-70 minutes and got him fit for Thursday, but they gave him the full 90, didn't they?
Fulham were pressing at the end, and I think that in fairness to Marco Silva, like not a lot of teams do this. Like he was risking losing the game by pushing for the winning goal. So kudos to him in his least patronising way as I possibly can. I guess I don't even know if there's much else to note. Solanke picking up tier 1 shots. I don't know that I would go there at all. Considering other options.
I think missed his run. He had a really nice run of 4 fixtures. Yeah. And he's a couple into them now. So they've got 2 more, but then they get harder again. So Neto's a popular one. Obviously, didn't get anything, did he? But yeah, Billings been doing okay. Got tackles again, and he's been playing well. But yeah, there's nothing too much to shout about with him. I think by the team there is there.
In the Wolves Forest game, I was surprised that no passing bonus for the Wolves defenders. I don't know how many people would have considered Kilman or others in the team. I've seen a few people with Jose San goals. I think that he's a nice hold through to the World Cup. I probably wouldn't be looking to move on the Wolves keeper if I held him, but obviously I wouldn't be picking any of their players to bring in. Neves, penalties, tier 1 shots. People were on him and then he got that suspension, and I think there was kind of 3-for-1s or around about that time. A lot of people moving off him now.
And that Brennan Johnson missed penalty cost me a lot of points. He ended up with a -1. He would have had probably 8 points. So it's cost me 9 points, which is a lot of ranks at the moment, isn't it? So, and my plan was, if Mitrovic was confirmed as fit, I was going to do Johnson onto Mitrovic. For obviously for that game, but also for Thursday. I didn't do it, and it's probably the first time this season really where if I'd have gone early, I'd have benefited. But I'm still of the fact that I'll still wait till Thursday. You never know, right? They may say, "Oh, Mitrovic had a bit of a knock in the game; he may not play." So I'm happy to just kind of leave it for now.
And it gives you a bit more time, because you were saying if you do that move to Mitrovic, that it blocks a potential move that you're looking to do further down the line, budget-wise as well, isn't it?
Budget-wise and position-wise as well. So I need to have a think about that. And what else was I going to mention there about that? I can't think. But yeah, Brennan Johnson's still in my team. Like, he's still there.
Well, I've got Dean Henderson still. So
the only saving grace is that Johnson does play again before Thursday. So they've away to Brighton. Like, Brighton have to be quite leaky, so chance of something potentially. But he's definitely going. He's definitely going soon. He's like, he's a real thorn in my side in all 4. I can't get rid of him at the moment, but he's still there.
Late game on the Saturday was Spurs against Everton, so nice passing bonus for Dyer and Romero, and clean sheet added to the clean sheet for those that still hold. Kane, 4 shots on target. I think if I didn't have Kane, I'd be a little bit worried, especially with some of the fixtures that they've got coming up as well. Right. got good fixtures there. Not much to talk about from the Everton perspective. Moving on to Sunday's games, Villa 0, Chelsea 2. So obviously Mason Mount steals the headlines when you look at it on the outside, 2 goals, shooting bonus. But really, I guess Kepa was the star of the show, 7 saves. Like that triple save that he made in the first half was unbelievable. A lot of my rivals in the Dream Team have him in goals, which I was very annoyed about. 6.6 million. We'll talk a bit about these players in the next section, so we can come into that. The only surprising thing here was that the Chelsea defenders didn't pick up passing, but I guess they did make two moves at half time, and had the defenders played the majority of the game, I guess they would have all made it, other than Chalobah, who only made 41 passes, but that was my under 1% pick last week.
That was enough. So, that was enough for you, wasn't it?
To beat Podence's too. When Glenroy put a message on Twitter, I don't know, I had in my head that I'd picked Koulibaly, and I think it's because I just transferred them into Dream Team. So I was like, he still beat me, but no, that's £2 usually to charity, Fergi.
On top of everything else.
Yeah. Other 2:00 games, Leeds against Arsenal. I think Arsenal were very lucky to keep their clean sheet intact. Salabah's moved on to 4 bookings now. He did pick up tier 2 passing though. And Odegaard with the shots bonus. So Saka got the goal, 8-pointer, but no points in addition to the appearance points for Jesus and Martinelli, which from a Sky perspective, I was quite happy about, because their ownership in the top 1K is kind of 70% and 50%.
Man United and Newcastle. I saw Rashford came on late and spurned 2 really good chances. We have had a question about him in the chat about what to do with Rashford. It's quite a tough one, I find. What do you think at the moment on Rashford?
I think there's too many players at his price point doing well that I would manoeuvre onto, and even if that means a defender. We were talking about the lack of clean sheets last weekend. There was 10 clean sheets this weekend. So, and a lot of the big teams picked up clean sheets, and therefore that comes with passing bonus for a lot of the players. So 9-10 pointers for a lot of defenders as well, around about those price points. So yeah, I would think I'd consider moving them on. There wasn't much bonus in that game for highly owned players, but again, a lot of people still holding Nick Pope. Trippier's ownership's pretty high in the top 1K. I think it's around about 45-50% as well. So some defensive points there. And then Southampton, West Ham, a lot of people like myself moved Maddison onto Bowen for that future Monday night game and get the extra game out of him there. West Ham were denied a penalty that I thought could have been given, so if he had scored, obviously, would have been a nice instant return. Fabianski, 7 saves. I've seen a few questions of people considering bringing him in if you can't get to Bowen easily on the Monday night. I do like goalkeeper transfers. I think they do go a bit underrated in Sky, so I could see it. I just don't particularly like their fixtures afterwards, and I think Newcastle's are okay, and therefore I'm not convinced I would make the Pope to Fabianski move on that Monday.
I find the only thing is when a keeper has to make 7 saves, Fabianski and Kepa like prime examples, and they haul massively. Alisson's the same, right? So he made, I don't know, whatever it was, 5 or 6 saves or whatever. But I just find with those, you see the massive haul and you think, oh, they're the keeper to have. But for me, the fact that they've had to make 7 saves indicates to me that they're probably not a team I want a goalkeeper from. I thoroughly appreciate that with Kepa maybe as well, because, Chelsea have historically been a pretty solid team. I kind of get it, and I get that he's mega cheap. And if Mendy was 6.6, everyone would be all over him. But the fact he's had to make 7 saves against Villa as well, I'm just a bit nervous about it, because the bread and butter for a keeper is clean sheets, right? And if someone's had to make 7 saves, I'm just a bit, I don't really feel it.
I didn't watch that game, so I'm not saying this was the case, but there is a few instances, outliers like Pope, in the way that Burnley set up. would always restrict the opposition to shooting from distance, and therefore you rack up the saves that way. So the XG on the shots aren't isn't particularly high. I'm not saying that was the case in this instance, but it is worth considering that. And then the last game was Liverpool Man City, so loads of bonus about here. As you said, Fergi, you own Alisson, like 15-pointer when you add the assist.
Bring him in.
And I think he would have got man of the match if it still went as well. Or no, in fact, it was Joe Gomez that was given man of the match.
He was very good, Gomez, to be fair.
Salah was denied the extra 2 points from shooting bonus for the shot that Ederson tipped around the post. But it's all butterfly effect because that happened before the goal went in. So who's to say that the goal would have happened thereafter if that's how it pans out? Nice. Like, even though Man City got beat, kind of Ake and Diaz both returning 5-pointers for picking up the tier 2 pass.
How mad is it? Ake had 107 points on one side of the defence and Cancelo had 30 on the other. That is absolutely bonkers. Over nearly 4 times as many passes on the other side. Crazy.
Nice 8-pointer for Rodri as well, picking up the double bonus. And then Haaland, 5-pointer, considering how well he's done. I think I'm just going to keep captaining him regardless anyway.
I love the way I saw earlier someone's going on about Van Dijk had Haaland in his pocket. He had 4 shots on target, mate. It's like Alisson kept out Haaland. Had nothing to do with Van Dijk. Don't get me wrong, I thought Liverpool defended very well yesterday, but Haaland still had 4 shots on target, so that's nothing to do with Van Dijk. But anyway,
when I was scrolling Twitter at the time this game was on, this is unrelated to Sky Fantasy Football, but and I don't even know, I don't necessarily think in isolation it's that funny, but someone tweeted that Núñez has a negative IQ, and I had a chuckle to myself, and it was like, is that one where they were 3-on-1 in attack?
How didn't he just pass it over? It's unbelievable.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all the games, and then we've got obviously midweek the 9 games coming up starting tomorrow night.
We'll talk about them in a sec, but firstly, Paul, you just wanted to have a look at the benefit or not of going for a few risky picks. So you've highlighted a few players here.
Yeah, so on screen just now, I've got Kepa, I've got Akanji, and I've got Ake. So all at really good price points, considering the teams they've got played for. And with each of them comes the caveat that, is Kepa 1 game away from having a howler and getting replaced by Mendy? With the 2 City guys, they probably will play 3 out of 4 or 3 out of 5 of the remaining games. But 4
left they've got now.
4 left, so they will probably play 2 or 3. But at any stage of the season, I think that this is probably one of my flaws in the way that I play the Sky game, and something that I'm trying to address. And it's not to say that I'm going to go and pick non-nailed players constantly, but Joe Matip was an example last season. I was like, he's going to get dropped. He's going to get dropped. He's going to come in, and then game after game, he was scoring high points. Punishing me constantly. These players are at good price points, like 8 million. So having one of them, and if something happened with an injury or they had a really bad game and you think that they're going to be out for a couple of games, they're at a good position that you can pivot on to somebody else at that price point. And I think that I really need to start not making wholesale gambles, but really considering, when I'm picking an overhaul team or when I'm looking at gain a fixture, to do a fixture gain by moving a player off on a Saturday that I no longer want, even if it's part of a daisy chain move or not. Taking into consideration bringing one of these types of players in. What I wouldn't advise is going for kind of 3 of these players, because you're just going to feel that you're firefighting quite a lot of the time, and you're going to have really, really disappointing days when you look at lineups and all of the players, all the kind of stars unalign, and none of your players are playing. So yeah, definitely a weakness in my game that I'm thinking about addressing. Or potentially immediately, because I'm sitting with Dean Henderson just now, 6.5, Kepa's 6.6. I had a look at Chelsea's fixtures. I'm just not.
They're not the best, are they?
No,
and there's me saying he's had to make 7 saves. So
yeah, 4 games for City, 5 for Chelsea. Forest do play first, so delicate Forest's 4 games against Chelsea's 5. And do I think that Kepa outscores Henderson by kind of 12 to 15 points. I'm still thinking probably, probably, but yeah, I'm not certain yet.
Who are I'm quite confused on Akanji. He seems to be he's playing every game. I think Ake tends to be the one, and I haven't checked actually, but I think Akanji has played 90 since he's signed, basically the last 5 or 6 games. I don't think Ake has. Who would be your pick out of the two? Bear in mind they're the same price.
For like, if I was picking a City player now for the next 4 games,
a defender,
probably Akanji for the next 4. Yeah. Albeit, if I knew they were playing the same minutes, I would definitely pick Ake. But like as you've seen, 107 passes. And I think Ake has played really well this season.
Yeah. But
the problem, and I've seen quite a few threads on this and observations from watching the games as well, is that Laporte's really good at doing playing the penetrating pass from defence.
Yeah.
I think Luke Williams pointed out quite a few times on his Man City threads. And City don't have that, and therefore I think Laporte maybe comes in. And does Cancelo move to the left now because he didn't play particularly well at the right? Akanji plays on the right, so yeah, I think I would move to Akanji if I was picking one of those 2 players, and
so
I'd like Akanji.
So Akanji has played the last 4 games, all 4 league games, 90 minutes. Ake has played 3 of the last 4. But he didn't play for a couple of games. But I think he had a knock, didn't he, as well, which may have accounted for 1 or 2 of them. But yeah, interesting. And again, we're looking at some of the captaincies. I think the only 2 captaincies which are bothering me from now until the end is West Ham and Bournemouth. And it's only bothering me because I haven't got an easy route to Bowen, and I think he'll probably be the highest owned captain.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
And then that Arsenal Forest game is also quite a tough one, I think, because I don't even know who the best Arsenal asset is. And obviously, I think Bowen and Jesus are roughly, if not exactly the same price, aren't they? So that seems a nice little.
Remember Simple Gull asked the question a couple of weeks ago. He was like in the hovering and he wants to make a play to win the game.
Yeah.
See, Sunday the 30th of October, I think it's the game that you're talking about. So Man United host West Ham and Arsenal host Nottingham Forest. This would be like an ideal game to pick up a Saka over a highly owned Martinelli over Jesus. That's a high caliber player who has returned well in the past, is a good pick for the next couple of weeks afterwards from doing it as well. But it will be a differential amongst the masses.
That's the problem, is on those 2 days they will, like with Jesus, his ownership now in the top 1K is still like I'm guessing around like 60%. So by the time that rolls around, it's probably going to be higher. So I can't go against it. I do think, Saka, Martinelli, all these players have got the opportunity to score well, but Jesus, the number 9 playing up front against that Forest defence, I just can't.
Yep.
I think both from an ownership view, but also from a just looking who you think will score the points view. I think he's the man to have. So sorry, the reason I'm bringing this up now is because there's a real obvious temptation to jump on Man City. So 3 of Man City's final 4 games are at home. They have looked superb. They will respond. We know they'll respond, and their fixtures are brilliant. And there's players like Akanji, Foden, Ederson. I can see those 3 players, for example, getting between 8 and 12 points every game for 3 of those 4, if not all 4 of those games. And it's just thinking about whether we've got players like Zaha in our team, for example, or maybe going for these other players who may look okay. Is it even worth just concentrating our transfers on getting those players and just watching them, because they'll turn every week. Like Akanji, for example, if he played, will return a minimum of 5 points every week in those matches. Foden was incredibly unlucky yesterday. He's been absolutely on fire. Ederson, 9 points are practically guaranteed in nearly all those fixtures. So what's your current sort of thinking around Man City? Because it does seem like there's an opportunity to jump on this little run of games, and it'd be really, really beneficial.
What I'm thinking is, who would you be owning at this stage? There will be a few a few teams with some players around that perhaps don't want. Like Rashford was a good example, in my opinion, that maybe Rashford's somebody that you'd want to move to a City defender, and I think that would be a sensible move, even without the fixture game necessarily. But the majority of players that we've got in our teams now that are highly owned have good fixtures for those four as well. Like, I'm not convinced. I'm still not sure that I would take Zaha out for a City defender, like knowing that he could pick up a haul in one of those games. Maybe that's short-sighted by me, and I don't know. Maybe I cursed Zaha anyway because he never ever does well in my team, and I taught myself not to do it. And it's just like everything kind of aligned for it, and I had Fofana that I needed to get rid of, and there's a few other things lined up to make the move look too obvious to me, and of course it wasn't to be. Even like Bowen, maybe if I was still holding on to Maddison, I would maybe consider that. But if you don't have one of those two Arsenal players, I'd probably rather move to Martinelli or Saka or Jesus, albeit they're a little bit more expensive. Crystal Palace have great fixtures coming up, so Gehi's got the fixtures to line up. There's just nobody I can see, other than if something comes out, that I'd necessarily want to get rid of anyone.
Yeah, no, it's fair. It's fair. It's it just looks like one of those plays, don't it, on paper? I suppose because there's no massive fixture game potentially. That's why I get it, and also players we're talking about, Bowen, Jesus, and when we're looking at some of the other players, you're not gonna take out Cancelo, Kane, maybe Mitrovic, just because of their fixtures, captaincy, and the price points they're at. Like, a lot of us are holding, for example, Palhinha, Mitrovic, maybe McAllister, players of that ilk who we got in for a reason, because they enable the rest of the team. Salah's the one I'm, after Forest, you're not going to probably captain again for the rest of the season because he plays on the same day as Haaland. That maybe, if he's the one I'm looking at potentially to, because at the moment I'm struggling to get to Bowen and Jesus, but after Forest on Saturday, I'm not going to captain him for the rest of the, and until the World Cup. But I don't know whether I'm just being short-sighted there, because Salah's still got some good fixtures himself, haven't he?
I am at this precise moment in time. How much do you what do you value a transfer at points wise, Fergie? Just this isn't going to lead to a debate. If you give me a figure,
I think for me it's still quite high. I still see it as like 15 or 20, but I have been fortunate this season.
So say 15, right? Yeah. And we'll talk about the City defenders. I think if you average 7 to 8 points a game, and I'll say 8 because City's fixtures are good, right?
Yeah.
8 points a game for a defender's good, right? Yeah. We know the City rotation. So say they play 3 out of 4, which I think's been on average. So 3 lots of 8, 24 points. To move Zaha onto one of them, expecting Zaha to play 4 games, say he gets 8 points, right? He blanks in them all. 8 off 24 is 16. So Zaha would just need one attack in return to not make that transfer worth it.
That makes sense. It does make sense. See, this is why I need you sat opposite me, Paul, when we chat through all this stuff. Let's have a quick look at the average remaining transfers. Top 5,000, 34.5. Top 1,000, 31. Top 100, 26.9. Top 10, 20.8. I think we've stopped being surprised at how low these numbers are. Paul, what are your immediate thoughts on this?
It's funny, see if you didn't listen to podcasts or you didn't follow threads on Twitter or anything like that, and you worked out, like you applied a little bit of maths on averages and stuff like that, and you looked at it, and I'm sitting kind of just under 40. I'm 350th overall, and I think, man, I am in the peak position to do this. Then I know that you're on the same points as me, with more transfers than me. But no, like I think that hopefully it reassures engaged managers when they're playing that it can still get a really top finish. Just need a bit of wind. I was thinking of this saying earlier on. Where does that come from? Is it to do with sailing? Like a good wind? Is that what it's?
I think so. You need a good wind to kind of keep on going, don't you? I think. I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I had come to that conclusion anyway. Yeah. So with
I hope you didn't give it much thought.
So with a good wind, and so by that a little bit of luck, but smart planning, etc. Yeah. I think well, hopefully it gives those engaged managers a bit of confidence.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at the game week at hand. Brighton against Forest tomorrow. Palace against Wolves. I've got McAllister and Zaha. I'm currently leaning towards McAllister. I think he's probably good for bonus. With an opportunity for some really good bonus points, but also maybe an assist, maybe a goal. I know McAllister did have a couple of shots on target against Brentford as well. I fancy Trossard. I don't know. Again, it's the devil on my shoulder, kind of saying that he could haul big tomorrow. But what's your thinking on tomorrow's games?
Yeah, I've got Zaha and McAllister. I'll be captain McAllister. If I had Gehi and Zaha, I think I would captain Gehi over Zaha as well.
Same. Yeah, I would as well. I'd be going for Gehi there as well. Wednesday, Bournemouth, Southampton, Brentford, Chelsea, Newcastle, Everton, Liverpool, West Ham. A new look Liverpool against West Ham, and then Man United and Tottenham.
I'm just hoping this is the game.
This is the game.
I'm hoping this is the game where, because it feels, I could be completely wrong about this, right? Jesus' ownership's about 70% in the top 1,000, and Salah's is about 30%, and I'm hoping it's kind of one or the other, and that this is the one. Yeah. This is the and still with the points different, the price difference in the two. That I'm hoping that people find it difficult to get to Salah, and this is the game that he runs riot.
And they got Forest on Saturday as well, mind.
Yeah, I guess he's played through the mid. Like Salah's played through the middle when he came on against Rangers last week, and it was playing more central against City there. I just hope that he's playing more central.
He looked so dangerous yesterday. I thought just those 1-on-1s. They were the Salah we've seen, just scampering away. That's the Salah we've seen over the years, isn't it? So
just playing on the shoulder, playing on the defender's shoulder. Yeah, so I'm hoping this is a game for Salah. If I didn't have Salah, I've suggested captain Van Dijk for this season, and it's not worked out particularly well. I think I would captain Kane over Van Dijk. I think my preference order would be Salah, Kane, Van Dijk. I think would be my top 3 captains, and in that order.
Yeah, same. Agree with that. Thursday. This is an interesting one now because lots of people had Maddison for the captaincy against Leeds. Obviously, he's banned for this one now, and Fulham play Villa. So we've had some questions. I think Dan Cox might have asked, and a couple of others as well, around if you hold Palhinha, who has done bloody well the 2 games we've had to captain him so far this season. I think he's had like 5 points and like 8 points or something like that. Do you bring in Mitrovic as well to captain? You do get a couple of games off him because as well, because obviously they play on the Thursday. I think they play on the Sunday then. So if you haven't got a West Ham player, for example, you effectively get a 3 for 0 from a West Ham player, for example. But what's your thinking on that question, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, Palhinha's ownership isn't as high as what I'd have thought. It was just under 23%. So you're right. It might be 3 for 0s for a lot of people. I always think if you do own Palhinha, it's not a 3 for 0 because you're removing the captaincy off Palhinha, so you're not getting double his points and for that. But a couple of back-to-back 2s from Palhinha will probably be steering people towards Mitrovic and his consistency. I'm just thinking back to that Friday night where I didn't make the move and they were playing Nottingham Forest and Mitrovic didn't do anything. I'm at present, so I'm in the position that I could move on to Mitrovic as well. I just don't know who I would take out to get there.
I got Brennan Johnson, so it's easy for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of steering maybe 55-60% no and captain Polina, over bringing Mitrovic in and captaining him. And it's only because I don't think I would captain Mitrovic again through to the World Cup afterwards. Maybe it's a bit, I don't know. They do have good fixtures. They do play teams that are leaky at the back as well.
Well, they got Leeds. They got Leeds away on Sunday, which is another. If that was a tougher game, I may not be as bullish on it. But I think Villa and Leeds are pretty good, aren't they? And then it's Everton.
Everton, City, and Man United.
But he can. I fancy to do well against City and Man United, just because he's, the way he just dominates. He dominates the centre backs, don't he? So I don't think he's got anything to fear there.
I don't think I've got the option, and I don't think that I'm going to make the move. If one of my players got suspended or injured, or Polina didn't play on Thursday night, that does change things in my head about options. But yeah, I don't think that I'm going to make the move.
I think I'm going to, but I've got an easier choice, like I say, because I got Brennan Johnson. But my issue is then, if I do that move, I'm really struggling to work out how to get in Bowen for Monday. I would probably have to take out Salah, which seems madness, but I'm trying to balance out the fact that I could do...
you get Jesus, or you get the choice of the Arsenal player in for that.
Well, I haven't got the Jesus one. Well, because I would have to take out Kane, Haaland, and Mitrovic.
Oh yeah, so you
that's my.
But I'd give you additional options in midfield, and it'd give you the budget to upgrade to someone there as well.
I'm not sure. I'd go for. I think it's either go for Jesus or not, because I've got Saliba, so I don't think I would bring in Saka or Martinelli and captain them, because I don't think they would have more upside than Saliba. Assuming he plays, he may get a yellow in the next game, but we'll see. Looking ahead to Saturday, Forest and Liverpool, as we've said. So pretty excited to own Salah for these next few days. But they do play the same day as Man City and Brighton, and again the form Haaland's in. Unless Salah scores like 2, 3, 4 goals tomorrow, I think all captaincy will again be on Haaland on Saturday, I would guess. Home to Brighton, who, I say, haven't looked very good defensively since the new manager has come in. Everton and Palace, that looks like a bit of a snore fest, and then Chelsea Man United, which I've completely missed that actually, because they haven't got many options between them really, have they? Chelsea United. So, but yeah, Haaland on Saturday still.
Yeah, it will be for me.
And this is the day where I'm contemplating, well, I couldn't really do Zaha to a Kanji because Palace play the same day. You're not getting any extra fixtures. Don't know, I'll probably just leave it. Sunday, Wolves, Leicester, Southampton. 2 o'clock again on Sunday. Wolves, Leicester, Southampton, Arsenal, Leeds and Fulham, Villa, Brentford, and then Spurs, Newcastle. Kane best captain, I think, on this day against Newcastle. Maddison will be back to play Wolves. Arsenal, Southampton could be good.
Leeds have been okay defensively at home this season. That's another reason why I've kind of...
Okay, fair enough.
So it's really the one game, this Thursday's game, that concerns me about Mitrovic. I think, watch this end up 3-3 now. But no, I think, again, Kane's a standout option there. A few of the Arsenal players could do well, but I wouldn't be betting against Kane.
And West Ham and Bournemouth, I think, is a tougher game than it looks, because Bournemouth still haven't lost in about 6 or 7 games now. But that's not to say, obviously, that Bowen can't do well, or Scamacca, because I could do Mitrovic to Scamacca for free. As in, I just don't have to shift funds around. But
on Scamacca, I just think it looks like he's. Like, if he doesn't play with Antonio, that like Moyes loves Antonio, so he's always going to give him like 25 minutes in the games as well. Bowen plays 90 minutes every week as well.
He did rest Scamacca on Thursday, which I was quite surprised at, and Bowen played that game and he played on thing. So I'm hoping for a Bowen knock on Wednesday night, which will piss everyone off except me. But yeah, I'll wait until the evening. It looks like I might be actually potentially up with Paul on that Monday evening watching it together. So that should be interesting if we've got competing priorities there. That'll be good fun. But anyone from Bournemouth, would you consider, I don't know, a keeper switch, or or do you just think that with Bowen's ownership and explosivity, if that's even a word, that he is like the key man to target?
Yeah, Monday nights, James Maddison the other week. I just think it's he's going to be that highly owned. That's one of those ones that I'd be really nervous if I'm not. But I'll probably be the same with Mitrovic on Thursday, in that I think that on some poll that I've seen earlier on, that Mitrovic was already at 50% of those people that had voted, which was going to be nervous times for me.
Ian Parrin, who is the Sky FF player from the top 20 with the highest ownership you are most worried about not having in your teams, and will you be using a transfer to get them in? So Ian says it's Foden for him, and he is thinking of bringing Foden in. He says thank you, obviously, to FF Stuff for all the graphics, as we show every week on this podcast. Who is the player you're most worried about there, Paul?
Good question. I like this question. I think Mitrovic isn't on the top 20 owned, but he's going to be on Thursday. That's going to be the biggest concern for me. But second to that, I'd have to say one of the Arsenal players.
Jesus for me.
Jesus, like, what was it? Like, I can't. It's not a mask.
63.6.
I thought it was 70, but yeah, 63%. And Martinelli is like 45ish or something.
51.5 now.
51. Well, there we go. So yeah, Jesus, but yeah, he would be second, and I think that Mitrovic will be in that top 20, and he would be my first, but only because I'm thinking of it from a captaincy perspective.
Yeah, I think I'm nervous about Jesus, Martinelli, and Foden, but I've purposely not held any of them, obviously, because they blank this week. I think probably played it quite well up until now, but afterwards they've all got really good fixtures, and Foden 9.2 is, I think he's cheap, and he's currently playing almost like a premium forward, isn't he, in terms of his positioning and his output. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting few days. This is where I half hope for injuries, because it just makes it. If Salah gets injured, for example, I don't hope Salah gets injured because I got him right, but say he does, I'm like, whew, I can now do Salah to whoever, which releases loads of funds to upgrade whoever to whoever. But it does, it forces your hand on it, and because to hold all these players is tough, and just trying to get to overhaul now with without trying to cover everything, because if you do that, that's when you get yourself into a bit of a tangle in it. But yeah, really good question there, Ian. Dan asks about Mitro. Looks like, I think I'm definitely bringing him in. Looks like Paul's maybe not. So interesting there. And Gary says, can't decide. Do I move De Bruyne to Salah? I think I would argue you should. Yeah, I would argue you should. You got the captaincy on Wednesday night. Then Liverpool have got Forest on Saturday. And then they got Leeds after that as well, I think. And then then Spurs, then Southampton at home to finish.
But if you don't have an Arsenal player, this could be a nice daisy chain from De Bruyne to Salah to Jesus, or
exactly
I don't know what formation is.
Or even to Bowen, and then on to Jesus to cover all the captaincies off potentially. I don't know. Ben says, do using the transfer 3 games left before overhaul seem wasteful? He says, I really want Foden, but the only route to him is Bowen. So after Bowen's single. So he's thinking of doing Bowen to Foden with 3 games to go. What do you think about that?
You get to see the Man City lineup on. Wait, no, actually, sorry, I was looking 1 week ahead. So this is Bowen after they plays Bournemouth. I assume then looking at the following game. Or you do get to see the lineups. Yeah. I think if you've got, it's kind of move that I don't make. I don't think I wouldn't make it.
I take your point there about the value of a transfer, right? So Bowen versus Foden with a 12 to 15 point start, you've got to fancy Bowen to return in the 3. That means Foden's got to return in all 3. So it's a good question. I think it's quite tight. I probably wouldn't personally. McAllister or Zaha captain. This is a Dark Invader. I think we both said that we're on McAllister, aren't we, on that day?
Yeah, I've got them both, and I'm captain of McAllister.
Michael Haaland brought in Thiago Silva yesterday. Now says he's going to miss a few weeks.
Was that? Did he go off at the end, or because he played well? I didn't watch the game.
I'm going to go on what. Yeah, I'm going to go on what Michael says. He says only have Palhinha. Would you advise going for Mitrovic? I think if Silva is out, confirmed as out, going to Mitrovic is probably a wise move. Maybe unless you need like Bowen for Monday potentially, or Scamacca, or whoever you're going for. But yeah, if Silva's gone, obviously you can choose either one of them. SkyFF Wilson can afford Webster to Salah or Van Dijk on Wednesday. Would either have a preference, or would you even make the move? Brighton next to a tough, where Liverpool have a nice run up until World Cup. I think Webster to Salah is a pretty decent upgrade.
You could do Webster, yeah.
Especially since Brighton play on the Tuesday as well, don't they? So you've already got that game.
Yep.
Salah for us at the moment. Should have been a BB. What are your thoughts on bringing in Fabianski for Pope on Monday? Don't really have anyone want to get rid of for Bowen. I think you mentioned this earlier, Paul, did you?
Yeah, as I said before, I like goalkeeper transfers, but Newcastle's fixtures are okay afterwards. They're one of the best defensive sides in the league just now. I'm not convinced I would do it. And I don't know that there's any other options from that game that I would really consider outside of Bowen. I mean, I'd move Dean Henderson to Fabianski if I could afford it, maybe. I've already got Bowen, but if I was in that position, I'd maybe do that. But I don't think I would do that in that position. If you didn't get a clean sheet, or you didn't get at least kind of 4 or 5 points from that game, doubled to 8 or 10, I think you'd be instantly disappointed.
And Bournemouth have been scoring goals as well. Solanke's in good form. I think he's got 4 attacking returns in the last.
They should have had like 3 penalties. They should have had 3 penalties in the last 3 games.
Yeah, they should. I only know because I got Solanke in FPL, so I keep hearing penalty at Bournemouth, and they don't give it, do they? David Martinez says Darwin Núñez accrued the highest XGA per 90 of any player in the league, including Haaland,
and the lowest IQ.
And the lowest IQ, albeit in a limited number of minutes. Is he worth a punt for Liverpool's nice run of fixtures now that Jota and Diaz are out? Go on, Paul.
I couldn't watch the games if I owned him. I don't think he just frustrates the life out of me. There's going to be a game this season, or the next couple of seasons where he scores 4 or something like that. Right? I would put money on him to scoring 4 goals in a game over the next couple of seasons at some point in time. But I wouldn't punt on him.
But I think that's the word, and it is punt. That is what it is. Is that if you go against, go against Salah. Salah's ownership is quite low at the moment, but if you're going for Núñez, you can fly up the ranks or you can fly down the ranks, and as long as you know that, as long as you're willing to take the risk, David, then that's your call. I think in terms of his minutes, he should definitely play really good minutes, as he says. Jota and Diaz both out now, so you can expect a front 3 probably. I think Núñez came on the left yesterday, so I think you can expect, Núñez on the left, Salah probably in the middle, and Firmino on the right, which is massively different from the last few weeks. But I just can't look off Salah.
Trent played further forward when he came on yesterday as well.
Yeah, he did.
Playing right mid, not suggesting that that'll be how it starts.
But I just think Salah on pens as well. Salah, won't be really good in pens. I can't see past Salah. Julian says, using 40 left as a ballpark figure, how many transfers would you be willing to use to maximise the next 5-game period? Team dependent, I know, but would be interested in your thoughts. Yeah, it's what I've been thinking of at the moment, because I've been pretty frugal so far, but I can see a couple of banana skins if I don't cover them, and if I don't kind of move my team along a little bit, I can see myself kind of treading water or falling behind. So yeah, I'm interested. How many do you think?
I think an average amongst engaged managers come World Cup time would be 36, 37 left. And therefore, if you're at 40 just now, 3 to 4, I think that sounds okay over that period of time. If you saw the opportunities and if you were getting out injured or either players that fixtures weren't great at all or injured or suspended players and taking advantages like that, I think 3 to 4 transfers would be good. And as you say, covering off those captaincies, particularly on the Sundays and the single Monday night. I think that feels about right to me.
I think it'd be lower than that. I think 34, 35, because I still think there's a few moves left to be played. I think, a few people have held on to Liverpool players for this little run, the 3-for-1 sort of thing over Man City and things. I think it'll be less. I think the average I think the average for engaged managers will be more in between like 34, 35, because I think there's still some twists to come before the World Cup. It's a lot of games in a short period of time. I think we'll see some benchings. It only takes like a popular captain sort of bench or something like that, and things. So and the way the funds are at the moment, I think some managers, potentially including myself, will need to make 2 to unlock 3 moves, if you know what I mean, and things like that. So I still think 4 or 5. So I think 35. You think a bit more, but yeah. Fair enough. Thank you so much, everyone, for all your questions. David Baxter says, Scamacca loves a shot. He's going to really haul one of these weeks. James asks, how many points and transfers have you guys used? So we're both on the same points. I think, is it 9-2-3?
That's right, yeah.
I think I've used 7. I think Paul's used about 21. Is that right, Paul? The way you keep using them every weekend.
You only used 7. You've just even less than what I thought you had.
Come on, baby. I'll be using 3 or 4 in this next 2 weeks, 100%, because I'm a bit locked at the moment. So
I'm going to try and I've got Dean Henderson. I'm going to try and use none. I'm going to try and use none.
Try and use none, and you've got Henderson, and you haven't got like Jesus or anything like that. We'll see.
Well, I don't need to.
Oh, you do need him, mate. James Clover says hello, and he needs a new calendar, Paul.
Oh yeah, I know James Clover. I gave him when Dan for the Secret Santa that we ran through this. Dan got me the Hearts calendar, and James Clover and I have a mutual friend, and James Clover's got a bar in his garden, I think it is, where he collects random bits of football memorabilia and puts it in. So I was obviously not going to do anything with the calendar. So our mutual friend asked if Clover could have it. So I got that sent to him.
Is it Taylor, the mutual friend, Leicester City fan?
Jonathan Webb.
Oh, okay. Well, he also asked, what shall I do with Rodri, Saliba, Edison, and Haaland? You just got to hold. You just got to hold all those, haven't you? David Baxter, talk of Gross being dropped this week potentially. This is that Lallana rumor.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much to all those watching and listening. Your continued support is much, much appreciated. And thank you so much, Paul. Where can people find you?
On Twitter at Paul McAnulty 1. It's MCANULTY.
My Twitter handle is at FFH_Fergi. We may have a special podcast next week, potentially. I may be in Paul's room there. We'll have to see. I mean, may or may not be sober. We'll have to see. But I'll be in the Tuesday if we do it anyway, so I'm sure you will be. We'll have to work something out. If you liked what you watched, please press the like button and remember to subscribe in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. And if you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast versions and leave some comments. Also, please make your bets on who is going to win at table tennis. We'll be really, really interested to hear who will win out of Paul and myself. We'll be back either next Monday or next Tuesday, reviewing the weekend's action and looking ahead to Sky Game Week 13. Have a great week all. The very, very best of luck, and goodbye for now.